Alpha Centauri power. Look at all those ships. I think I've lost some ships if anything, but I gained a Gatling destroyer or two. I lose some ships, I steal some ships. It's not about the ships, damn it. I want airplanes. Where are they? Yang's got the territory. Wealth is highly variable. So I've got all the important who's who listings. Definitely crushing the AI at this point of the game. It's just a matter of tightening the noose on all these blasphemers. I actually got a temporary truce with the greatest blasphemer of all next door to me here, but that's not too bad. I can use that truce to move my ships past his territory and use them to go and pick on the Spartans. I'm convinced the Spartans have technology that I haven't stolen yet. They're holding out something on me. I've got all of Lal's tech and I think all Gaian tech. I seem to remember getting Yang's map last time I tried to steal his tech. So I think once I have the Spartans tech, I'll have a complete library of known tech on the planet. Hopefully someone's got air power. I'm trying to research air power. Hence my lack of energy. I've diverted all my energies into labs instead of economy. And I'm draining my energy cash supply each turn. But I'm researching air power. Air power, mate. Meanwhile, I'm prepping air bases. So this is Air Base North. And it's doing eco damage. It's so well equipped. So we can take care of that. It's all down to tweaking the mineral input to just the right level. $20 seems to be about a sweet spot, or 18. I think I'm green, so I get away with a little bit more. I wish I knew why I get this continue moving tab when I play the original factions, but I don't get it when I play modded factions. I'm not sure what's being changed. I'm not sure what clever thing I did to the mod to get rid of that, but it sure saves me a lot of clicking when I normally play. I normally just move supply crawlers where I move them, and they're like any other unit. They wait to be told what to do. They don't stick a menu in my face. But here it's all very different. I'm not sure what's happened and I can't find the setting. I'm terribly upset about it because in a YouTube video you don't need extra clicking, and my recollection of the game is that clicking was never part of the game. So at this rate I'll be so desperate I'll actually Google it. Okay, Spartan Tech. Cyber ethics.
Told me of things that delight them, but not such things as your
The way I'm playing this particular game is a little bit cyber, but not remotely ethical. That's alright, I've got more probe boats on the way. We'll keep prodding. Keep probing. The Spartans haven't run out of anuses yet. There's still more probing to be done. So this captured base here, sea base, got very good aircraft range on Deirdre's turf here. And she has a little city called Fallow Time right in the middle of it. And that's got like 3 wonders in it. It's very nice. I'm thinking wipe out everything on her mainland, just leave that city, then conquer that city and claim the wonders. It's got the weather paradigm, it's got all manner of juicy things that I'm forbidden from building myself, but perfectly happy to capture. Speaking of capture, it's a Lowell sea base. I can just capture that with my ships. I can capture any number of sea bases with my ships. And I need to send some decent troops down to attack his headquarters. The cannon fighter I've sent down there at the moment is unlikely to make headway. So, ship mass production tapering off. Still cranking out any number of ships, but redirecting some resources to prep a few air bases. 8 years? You said that 8 years ago. Turns are so slow at this point in the game. $160 odd turns in. A lot is going on. Well and truly in the mid-game. Things are going to start changing on those graphs. At the moment, this lovely little graph with the orange line soaring high, but everyone's gradually heading upwards as they grow and develop. But that's going to start changing in the coming turns. Some of my enemies are going to start going on a bit of a downward plunge instead. Plunging downwards. Lal and Deirdre. Santiago's too far away for now to be a major problem to me. Staple them. Yang's nearby, Yang's powerful. I'm kind of saving him up for the end a bit. He'll keep. And I've got a truce with my bestest of buddies, Zach. So Zach I'm saving up until he gets some more tech. And then I'll just do a huge tech raid, unless he's willing to give it to me. He hands his tech over and trades it. That's fine. If he gives me some nonsense about not being able to trust me with such important data, well then, I shall steal it all. But that leaves Lal and Deirdre, and Lal has a lot of ocean cities. And I've built an unnecessarily big navy because I've been waiting for aircraft for an eternity. So my navy will go and smash Lal. And I already have air bases in central locations in Deirdre's empire. So as soon as I have aircraft, I'll use them to sweep Deirdre. capture fallow time, and that'll also lay claim to Deirdre's largest chunk of land. I'll have a land city in the middle of her big island there. That'll probably knock me over the edge to being the guy with the most territory. Might need to conquer a little more, but might be enough. I could slap a city on this island to the east or island to the west, but I'm not in a situation where I need territory. My home territory is such a powerhouse of production. I'm sucking minerals out of it efficiently enough that I'm just making a massive, if disorganized, navy. This isn't a showcase of tactics, I don't think. Go, 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 go. Come on, yes.
All power rests at the apex of the first
That
triad
is
of
the
victory,
thing you
for
need.
it combines mobility, flexibility, and initiative.
That is what you want.
Spartan
That is
Battle Manual.
That is what rests at the apex of the triad of victory. It is the shizzle. Yes, back to maximum economy. Green fundamentalist. Hug that tree. Trees are part of God. Time to design lots of shiny new jets. My naval tactics in this game have not been showcased because I'm basically rushing turns to some degree. It takes so long to have a turn with this size empire. Not normally an issue. I'm happy on a single player game to puddle, and on most multiplayer games I tend to have faster turns than everyone else, believe it or not, as terrifying as that may be. So, but for recording this whole thing, I end up with these massive giant video files. So I'm kind of rushing my navy, just being pretty chaotic with my navy, rather than convoying things and carefully keeping weaker units underneath stronger units. Wormslayer is just a 50% offense empath jet. You can make a more expensive version that has missiles on it, so I can just sort of conventionally bomb other things, but you can also just make a cheaper dedicated wormjet. I usually put the missiles on and make them multi-purpose, but I just thought I'd make the cheap versions this time. If that's their only job, then the weapons don't matter, and yes, you can have a nice cheap anti-worm jet, and they're just great for knocking out Isles of the Deep off your coast. They just shred worms because they come out elite like everything else. And then they've got the 50% empath on top of that, and the I'm going to attack you first bonus on top of that. I don't know if they can intercept locusts. I don't remember. I'm usually, a lot of the time, I will kill everyone before locusts are a huge thing, like for other players in particular. And yeah, I don't have a lot of experience shooting down locusts with them, but I just love those planes for killing Isles of the Deep. An elite plane will usually do it anyway, but if you've got some sort of worm problem, just being able to relocate worm killers. They've got such a nice range. I can have 3 or 4 of those worm killers stationed around the edge of my continent, and I'm in range of most potential worm uprisings. And they're fairly cheap. The other aircraft I'm making in my Airbase North, which is my specialist aircraft building airbase, where the transport plane can only haul one thing and can be a little tricky to load and unload in some ways. You can only move things between your bases and your air bases, but it's a way to pick up a troop and zoom them around. So I don't have any offensive troops. It won't carry a tank, but it'll carry plasma garrisons. So if I want to instantly reinforce some plasma garrisons into somewhere, I've got air transport and of course spies. I can move land spies, so if there's a landlocked city that I want to bribe, for example, I might be able to drop off some spies on the land. And of course interceptors were the first thing I designed for the MISC base. So that base does transports, anti-worm planes and interceptors, and sort of doesn't alternate between them because I only usually build 1 or 2 transports just to play with, and a handful of just enough worm killers to give me a perimeter. Interceptors I build probably the most of to shoot down enemy planes, which will inevitably turn up, but the best defense against enemy planes for your homeland is to make sure none of your enemies has a base within air flight of your homeland. Just wipe them. Then you can station most of your interceptors at your outer bases where they can protect those.
Request confirmation.
Getting the aerospace complexes pre-built is very important. Clearly forgot it in Airbase North here, but that gives them 2 levels of morale. The Bioenhancement Center gives them another 2 levels of morale, and Fundamentalist gives them a 5th level of morale on top of all that to take them all the way up to Elite. And of course Elite troops get an extra movement bonus. So you really want them just to leave your factory in an elite state. That's invariably how I like to roll. If you're Spartans, of course, you can get elite happening much earlier. You don't need bioenhancement to get elite troops, though in this case I got bioenhancement long before I got air bases and sea bases, so... But either way, whereas Gaians of course have the opposite, where they've got a morale penalty to overcome. It keeps activating those boats. Just need to put them on hold. The creaking is my chair, which has just decided to creak wildly all of a sudden. Doesn't usually creak particularly much, but I'm making a video, so why not go on a wild thrash metal creaking session. So this should be in air range of my mainland. I should be able to bring them down to Port Refuge and then down to Ocean Authority, and from there they can range out and hit things like the UNHQ there. Kind of wasting ground troops by sending them in that close in dribs and drabs. I'm just hoping for a little ground action in this thing. I really need to send them in a big wave if they were actually to take his HQ out, but I think it's pretty well defended.
Request
think what's more likely to happen is that I'll send some jets down there and just wipe the UN headquarters off the face of the earth, because it's a land-based city that I can't bribe, and then I'll go and annex all his sea bases with my navy, and then bribe his coastal cities and see what's left.
Complete. Production complete.
Now that I'm back to 100% economy, my cash levels will just go hammering upwards, and I'll have a lot of bribing power. So sea bases I won't need to bribe, I'll just be able to conquer those. But I'll spot some useful coastal cities and bribe those. Spartan world map. I've officially drained the Spartans. UN doesn't have anything new. I like the way the UN keeps asking me for peace by demanding one of my technologies. It's quite hilarious. Brother Lau pretending to dictate from a position of power. I'll get rid of Lau, and I'll get rid of the Gaians, and then there won't be a head of the UN Council. I could probably call another council meeting after that, and Yang and Santiago would vote against me, and I would vote for myself, and Zakharov would vote for me, and I would become boss of the world. I might even be able to put the sanctions back in place. Reenact the UN sanctions for misdeeds and atrocities, and then start gassing and nuking the world.
Request confirmation.
That's the next thing I'm looking forward to now, is orbital spaceflight and getting a nuke factory built. The mass production that was occurring for ships is now occurring for aircraft, and it can also occur for nuclear weapons, which can be produced at an astounding rate and used very entertainingly. Question is, how many air factories do I need? I've got 3. I've got a lot of production, a lot of supply crawlers. I don't know what my numbers are up to now, but the total amount I've produced, I'm sure, is fairly epic. I will check the stats, but I may add 4th airbase. I've got 2 bomber air bases. East and West are both producing Duster 1s now. They've made their aerodromes, so these will be Duster 1s coming out at elite levels. And my Dusters are just an aircraft with my best weapon and nerve gas pods, and later on clean reactors, and they're an extraordinarily handy unit. More or less essential against any kind of unfettered human opponent, and I'm treating these poor AIs like unfettered human opponents, almost. I'm actually doing lots of rash things like this, where I'm charging around with a bunch of troops I got cheap from Lal. They're not really doing anything effective, but they're menacing his HQ is what they're doing. Zach, me old mucker. He wants some cash. A piffling amount of cash. He's gonna pay me back. Yeah, it's alright. I can still turn at him at any time. Give him half the cash just to keep him happy. He's suggesting what tech I research. It's pretty irrelevant, mate.
Production complete.
Not researching any tech.
Grognard. Production
I am
complete.
officially a Luddite. Officially have 0% labs. My network node is cooling down and having a break. It's being used for civilian purposes and it's currently running 100,000 games of Galaga so that some of the little kiddies can be happy. So I've got a nice stockpile of crawlers that have been waiting for aircraft to be a thing. So now they can all gradually wake up and contribute to various aircraft. And soon I'll have a giant spam of aircraft, much like my giant spam of ships. Except they're just so very much more mobile and deadly. Terrifying offensive weapon. I like choppers. I mean, you gotta love choppers for air defense and things like that. Good for short range anti-worming, all sorts of uses. Transport choppers for sneaky spy delivery. There's many a thing to do with choppers, but chopper tends to be at the... By the time I get the helicopters, I'm usually crushing the planet with needle jets. I mean, yeah. Against the AI, unless you're restraining yourself for some reason, you definitely give them a good slapping with aircraft. If you're evil enough to make nerve gas aircraft, you're definitely going to be smashing them. And even just with regular aircraft though, it's just a massive thing. But they transcend AI. They will build swarms of interceptors and helicopter interceptors if they can, and knock you down in droves. They will build bombers of their own and come for you if they're in range. Or they'll try and make friends with your allies by bribing them massively, get them on side so that they can use their bases as air bases to strike at you. They'll try shonky things. And if you stockpile all your aircraft into one airbase, it's very important. You can expect it to be nuked. They're quite intuitive about what the most high value nuke target is for things. They're no slouch, but they don't have a great naval game, which is a pity. I should have restarted this map. It's way too watery for an average map. Definitely going back to big landmass maps for a bit of earlier action. But the computer doesn't have a great Navy game. It doesn't have side defense. So you can rough them up with worms in a way that human players wouldn't be so susceptible to. Although that applies to many things. They're weak against Navy and aircraft in a way that human players aren't as well. Time to take down Ocean Authorita. It's my Authorita now. Yes, that'll contribute to a nice chain of bases in the area. Started to make bombers, and I'll take my first bombers across and smash the Gaians, because they've got better production going on. They're a bit more obnoxious. Lal's already getting beaten up by my fleet a bit. He's got a bunch of other ocean cities, so I'll just go and pick on them with my fleet. Maybe save his HQ for my land army or my planes. Yes. Lots of clicking to be done with supply crawlers, particularly with this strange extra should I keep moving question that I'm not used to answering. But for all the micromanaging, you're doing a lot of clicking there, but you're clicking less turns. You're doing, if you're determined to win by conquest, it can take quite a while to do it if you're not really a supply crawler superpower. I mean, my navy's fairly ridiculous compared to most navies. You need to know the tricks to end up with a navy like this, really. You're not normally going to produce it by playing civilization in the classic look at my beautiful city and its beautiful buildings kind of way. This is just a sort of an ugly cyberpunk way of playing it, but it's good for dealing with human players who are just equally mad in their ability to mass produce and create havoc.
Production complete. Production complete.
Not the PvP expert, but if you've only ever played the game single player, you tend to get used to walking over the AI, or at least you tend to get used to their stupidity in various areas, and that just makes it easy for you in a few areas like Psi and air defense, etc. So you don't realise how obnoxious the game can be when your enemy really knows how to defend against that stuff. Don't think that's a coastal city. Now, I think I better wrap this video up. It's getting rather long.